today we have two speakers, Sherry and Ethan. They both have been with LinkedKey for a number of years. Sherry graduated from Appleby College in 2019, 2 years ago, and she's currently attending Wellesley in US for her double major, uh, which are math and computer science. And Ethan graduated from John Fraser AP program, and he's currently attending University of Waterloo for his math degree. And also, Ethan has been awarded for the Mathematics National Scholarship for the Canadian dollar 25,000, right? That's a scholarship. So I'm gonna turn the podium to Sherry, and Sherry, you may do a bit more introduction yourself.
Great, thank you so much. So again, just to introduce ourselves. Hi, everyone. My name is Sherry, and um, I'm studying math and CS at Wellesley, and it's near Boston, Massachusetts, if you guys know Boston. And now I'll pass it to Ethan, do a short introduction for us, Ethan.
Yeah, my name's Ethan, and I study math at the University of Waterloo. Uh, yeah, it's in Waterloo. Yeah.
Okay, great. So today we'll be discussing to you guys like what it's like applying to Canadian schools and US universities as well. And so the agenda is I'm gonna go first and talk about my experience a little, and then Ethan's gonna go, and then we have an overall Q&A at the end. So if Ethan can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So my presentation will be more of a story format. It's like what I learned through these events and how that can possibly help you. So before high school, I actually went to an arts middle school, so nothing STEM related. And I really struggled when I was learning math. I had many ups and downs. I got stuck on questions a lot for hours and really wanted to give up. But I persevered and really found a bit of interest in mathematics as something fun. So I actually went to a class held by a LinkedKey teacher, Lily. And when I started in that class, I was like a student below average. I was like doing not that great in the class, not putting in my best effort. And in the summer before I went to high school, I took this summer class with Lily again, where I learned grade 9 math, and I really put in effort into that class. Every day, there was like 4 classes a week. I would like work on those math questions for like 6 hours straight, all the way until dinner. And that hard work really paid off, and that experience really made me love and appreciate mathematics. And so in high school, when I like started high school, there was a placement test, and because of that class, I managed to place into grade 10 math when I started in grade 9. And throughout high school, I like took a bunch of contests. Sure you guys heard of math contests, and I would sometimes get rewards, and sometimes not, but I didn't take it as seriously, but I realized that I really should have. They were such great opportunities where you can like feel really good about yourself, and they also look amazing on your application. So did a lot of contests and super fun. Some of them were actually team competitions as well. And there's also a lot of conferences and camps that you can do at university. So I did a Waterloo Catalyst camp that was amazing, and UFT camps and Catalyst camps, and all of those, by the way, you can find just through searching up high school programs from Canadian universities. And through those camps, I met so many amazing people who are passionate about similar things. And I also built a lot of leadership and teamwork skills through those too. Throughout high school, I also took AP math exams like Calc AB, Calc BC, and try to take the challenging courses to really see if my interests lie in mathematics. So definitely, I would recommend taking advantage of what your school has to offer. And now I'm studying math and computer science. And the reason why I will expand on this in the next slide, but I didn't know what I wanted to do in high school. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go into an industry or anything else. And so I decided to study math. It's something that I'm pretty sure I'm pretty good at and I love. So I decided to study that in college. And now my two paths are either after undergrad, maybe getting a master's or PhD and thinking of that professor route, or my other route is just, becoming someone who works in the industry, doing software engineer, UI UX design. There's a lot of different fields. So next slide, please. So it's a lot. Thank you. So now I'll talk about why I chose Wellesley Math. So starting off, why I chose math, because math is such a broad field. It is so universal, and I feel like no matter what you go into, math will be really useful anyway. And again, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, so I decided to choose math as my major. And then as I was going in college, the great thing about liberal arts college is you can pick your majors throughout your 4 years. And so I decided to take CS as well because we had the opportunity to double major. And I found that CS is super practical while also applying math knowledge. And it's very real life, like problems. And it was just something that I was interested in. And so because math is so broad, you can take many courses along with it. So that's also a reason why I chose math. And now let's talk about Wellesley. So the reason why I chose Wellesley, there's a lot of reasons. But first of all, I'm gonna talk about ranking. I think Wellesley is a really good and high-ranked liberal arts college. I do always consider Ivy Leagues. Those are, when we grew up, Ivy Leagues are known to be very high rankings, and then I realized that I personally found Wellesley to be more suitable for me. But I don't regret going to Wellesley. I think it's a great school, and I think it's definitely there's a lot more factors than just rankings, because in the end, school rankings definitely bring you more opportunities. With a good school on your resume, it can open a lot of doors, but your success is dependent on you and how much work you're willing to put in. And also because there's a lot of self-learning resources online too that can be taken advantage of. That you can take advantage of, sorry. So rankings are great, but there are successful and unsuccessful people at every school, and that's just a reminder I tell myself too. And something else that I really appreciate about Wellesley is the opportunity to cross-register. We can cross-register with MIT, Babson, and Olin College. So Babson is a business school, and Olin is a great engineering school. But personally, I've been able to take classes at MIT and do research there as well. And I'm very grateful for that. It was also one of the reasons for when I was choosing a school, that was a very appealing factor. And overall, I just loved the suburban setting of Wellesley, and it's also a historically women's college. And I love the small classroom settings. We have 20, 30 people in a class, and I get super close to the professors, and the alumni network is super strong. So those are just some things that I really considered. And yeah, just being able to explore a lot of different subjects. I can take class in humanities, such as econ or anything else as well. It's a great time for you to explore what you're interested in. And I think it also helps me with considering grad school after undergrad. I think it brings a different perspective to studying in Canada, and I really wanted to explore that perspective. And so down in the presentation, you can see the consider, and those are some things that I considered when I was deciding between which colleges to apply to. So yeah, and now you may be wondering, why is there a Waterloo engineering on the top right? It's because I also applied to software engineer in Waterloo when I was, going to school, applying to schools. And this was before I applied early decision to Wellesley. And I've my sister went to Waterloo. She was in system designs engineer. And I was just so fascinated by the engineering program after attending different Catalyst conferences at Waterloo. And I loved the campus. It's so beautiful. So I decided to apply there before I chose Wellesley. And it was just really great because Waterloo has the amazing co-op program, which I'm sure Ethan will talk about later. And I really loved the community there. And I definitely recommend looking into Canadian schools because that's super, super great. And the program itself, engineering, is really tough. It's very rigorous because you have to balance co-op and school life. And honestly, I think the difference between engineer and math or CS, correct me if I'm wrong, Ethan, that my sister has told me, I've asked her about this, is that in engineering, in comparison to CS specifically, not math, she said that there's more focus on not just, I guess, coding, and development. My sister's a UI UX designer. She barely does any coding, and she loves it. She's not great at coding, but she really loves the design aspect of it. And like, there's a lot of things you can explore. You can explore leadership positions. You can explore, you know, like teamwork, anything like that. So I think that's what engineering brings. It's different from CS, but I'm not sure. I've never went there, but I've heard great things. It's just a very rigorous program. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you, Ethan. Thank you. Okay, so talking about the application process, I'm just going to focus on the States because I feel like Ethan will be able to talk about the Canadian application process. And in the States, most universities or colleges use the Common App application. I'm not going to go into in depth because I feel like these are things that you can research. And so overall, there's the Common App essay, and I would recommend talking about more of your passions. And there's the SAT, ACT, which I know that they're currently, like, a lot of schools don't need it anymore. I'm very jealous, but it is, if you do want to take SAT, ACT, make sure to start early when you're prepping. And there's also your AP test and AP classes, which I think are great. By the way, if your school offers the AP capstone program, I would really recommend doing it. I know Appleby offered it. I'm not sure about other schools, but it's a very great program. And yeah, APs are really nice because they can help you fulfill a bunch of requirements when you go to college. So just in the States, in my school, I fulfilled my language requirement, and I also placed out of lower classes because I took AP classes. Yeah, they were like prerequisites for higher level classes. So now let's talk about the options when you apply. There's different timings of when you can apply to college. There's ED, EA, ED2, RD, and you can also get in through waitlist. So ED is when you can only apply to one college, and if you get into this college, then you're fully committed. So you can't apply to any other schools after that, and you're fully committed to the school. So that's ED1, and it gives you a higher percentage of acceptance rate because they know that you just really want to be here and you want to fully commit. And EA is just, it's kind of similar to RD, but it's just earlier. It's called early action, and you just apply earlier and get your results earlier. And some schools offer EA, some schools don't. And then ED2 is like the same idea as ED, but it's later in the fall. And so yeah, and then RD is like every school has it. It's regular decision and it's in the spring. You can apply to as many schools as you like. And finally, waitlist. So waitlist seems really daunting because like, honestly, if you do get waitlisted, you can still get into a school. I know a lot of people who have gone off the waitlist for the schools that they're currently studying at. So do not give up. And also, all of these are dependent on the schools. Some schools don't have some of these and some schools do. So make sure to do your research before you're applying. And some tips I would have for your application process is definitely start early. Your essays, do it in the summer before your senior year, because your senior year is going to be so busy, especially in the fall. So I'd recommend starting early. And if you can find people who can look at your essays, that'd be super nice too. And also recommendation letters. I think it is really important to find teachers who saw your growth, who saw you, you bloom basically in their class, and build connections with them. So I believe you need a humanities teacher and also a STEM teacher, like something similar to that. So for humanities, I chose my capstone teacher, which is similar to an English teacher, because she really saw me become more confident in my public speaking and also just writing abilities. And then for my STEM teacher, surprise, I didn't choose my math teacher. I chose my chemistry teacher, because she really saw me start loving chemistry through her class and just putting in the extra effort to go to extra help hours, really try to understand the topics as best I could in class, and just making sure that I was putting in my best effort into that class. And because of that, I chose her as my teacher to write my recommendation letter. And I am so grateful that I did, because I heard that she wrote an amazing letter. Never read it, but that's what I heard. So really appreciated her. And yeah, and then I would ask for recommendation letters really early in the year, like right when you go back to school, so that your teachers have an ample amount of time to write your recommendation letters. And something else that's not on here is also talk to your guidance counselor a lot. I know people who had problems with their guidance counselors, sometimes not submitting things on time. But we are humans make mistakes. So if you can, like, make sure to remind your teachers when your deadlines are, when they should submit your grades or rec letters and things like that. And also, if you can, be vulnerable with your guidance counselors, because they're also writing rec letters, I believe. So yeah, have discussions with them is very important. And finally, on the slide is it's a very general point, but it's you want to build your well-roundedness, but they also want to see your passion. So let's say like this is the average line, and if you are super well-rounded in like every aspect, but like just evenly on everything, that's like right above the line, which is totally fine. But if you're able to have like well-roundedness on the average, but have something that really just makes you different from other people, makes you like seem very passionate about something, like I feel like that's generally the best and what US schools do look for. Okay, can you move on to the next slide, please, Ethan? Thank you. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about standing out in your college applications. And this is my advice. You don't necessarily have to follow through with it, but first of all, volunteering. I accumulated over 500 hours through high school, and that was both in my local community and in school. And I do want to credit the majority of my application to volunteering, especially in the local community. It is something that I absolutely loved. I volunteered at a local church camp that I actually attended when I was younger. And when I volunteered there, it really built my communication, leadership skills, and just the ability to, really speak out for myself. And also, I learned that I really love working with children there. I really appreciated that. And also in high school, I was TAing, teacher assistant to some LinkedKey classes, and that also really brought me to the field of teaching as well, which I loved. And so yeah, I would emphasize on community volunteering because you want to show that you do want to give back to your own community. And it's something that's super fun. I always love my volunteering experiences. I met a lot of amazing people through those. And in school as well, I volunteered at an after school program, and just like any opportunity I saw on email. If my school sent an email about you can volunteer here, like I would try to sign up if I could. And yeah, definitely just take advantage of all the opportunities you can, because it will really make you more comfortable talking with people, working in team environments. And it's just like building your character and judgment. Okay, now leadership activities, which are super important. Definitely take initiative and join really impactful clubs and extra co-curriculars. So I did student ambassador at my high school, and you can like honestly take lead in team projects and like take important positions in the club, start your own club, anything like that. Those are also super helpful. And so now I'll emphasize on my well-rounded, but something that I'm very passionate about, fact. So I love music. I've been playing piano since I was younger. I don't know if many of you can also identify with this, but playing the piano was like a big part of my life. And then in middle school, I started playing the cello, and I really, really fell in love with the sound of the cello, the way that I can express emotions through it. And so actually in my Common App essay, I wrote about the cello versus the piano. And if you have questions, you can ask in Q&A. But that's something that I just always loved. And so in high school, my music teacher, my strings teacher gave me so many opportunities to perform, like the school gala, at a wedding, and I took any opportunity I could because it was just so fun doing it. And I wrote about that in my Common App. And also, in terms of well-roundedness, I'm not great at sports. I don't play like any sports, but I do play one, which is table tennis, and I love that. And I did do it a little bit competitively, but I was like a very brief period of time. And also like any arts, community service, etc. Like just try to build like your overall general well-roundedness, but make sure you also have something that you really love and enjoy. Okay, now academics, which I know are super important, but I want to say that grades really don't define you. I think everything on the side is like just as important as your academics when you're applying to a US school. I mean, if your school has like AP programs like AP Capstone or AP Classes or Test or like IB, definitely take advantage of that. And in terms of overall average, the states don't really like, they don't mind if you like started at a low average, like as long as you're kind of like rising, you're like, you know, growing, then I think that's what they really value more than just like a very high average. And also in Canada, I know they only look at your grade 12 high 6 scores, I believe, but in the States, they look at like your grade 9 all the way to grade 12 scores, like general averages. Okay, and finally, my advice on this from this slide is to write down your accomplishments. Write down your contests, awards, your volunteers, something you were proud of, you loved doing. Write all of those down as you're going through high school. Because honestly, when I was doing my applications, I forgot all of them. And it took me so long to like remember anything, to remember all of them. And yeah, I would recommend writing it down. It would be really great. Okay. And I think next slide is going to be my last slide. So, okay, thank you. Okay, so here are some final recommendations from me, which is like a summary of like everything. So first of all, start your essays early. I cannot repeat this enough. It's helped me so much in my senior year. And have people read over your essays, but also not too many because everyone has different perspectives. And so, yeah, and also don't be afraid to reach out to people that went to your high school, but now go to the school of your interest and talk to them, network with your alums. They're also so willing to help. And, you know, when you go to college, make sure to try to balance your academics and social life, join clubs that you're interested in, join e-board positions, get close with your professors, do research, etc. And in high school, just take all the opportunities that you can and you know, like you can, if you have time. So check your emails, check university programs offered for high school students. And don't be afraid to reach out for help. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are willing. Like Ethan and I are super willing to help. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to us after. And yeah, and the next point is self-learning. This is something that I think I should have taken more advantage of in high school. So I've recently had a really long winter break. So I started learning Node.js on Udemy, and it was super fun, just coding away. It was a great winter spend, and I felt like, but yeah, I just had a really long winter break and I didn't know what to do. And also Khan Academy is something I would highly recommend. You probably all know about it, but in high school, it helped me so much when I was prepping for SATs and AP tests. It was just an amazing platform. And also YouTube. I did this MIT research project last summer and everything was so new to me. And everything I learned for that project was like on YouTube or Stack Overflow or anything like that. Definitely recommend YouTube, a great start to anything. So in conclusion, like do what you love, enjoy your high school experience, and you know, take what you want, make your passion. Don't give up on your interests and passions. And just a reminder that no one's journeys in high school is going to be all sunshine and rainbows. In high school, I like had a time where I fell into a hole where I was just like playing video games and just, you know, like that's all I looked forward to every week. And my mom really helped me get out of that phase and realize how much was on the line from doing that. So make sure to have fun in high school, but also it's important to keep in mind that like your journey in high school is not like just you, like there's so many people who are supporting you. So remember to be grateful, keep working hard, and you don't have to excel in everything in order to succeed. So yeah, thanks for listening to basically my life story. Now I'll pass it on to Ethan.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so you guys probably already know, I go to Waterloo for math. And sure you talk more about the US schools. I'm going to talk more about the Canadian or specifically Ontario University application process. And I'll focus on math programs and applying to Waterloo and math and computer science at Waterloo. So first, a little bit about me. For high school, I went to John Fraser for the AP program. As for academics, my average for my grade 12 courses was 97.7. I don't know if that's like, you guys might want to know, I don't know. I also achieved high scores on several math contests. So I did them because I like them, like I think they're fun. But also, I'll talk about later. A few of the math contests are pretty important for applying to Waterloo. I also did a few AP exams. So I scored a 5 on Calc A, B, and BC, Physics 1, the 2 Physics C exams, and Chemistry. And just a fun fact about me, in high school, I was kind of a procrastinator. So I would often like leave things till last minute. I was fortunate because I worked pretty well under pressure, but in university, I definitely had to learn how to manage my time better. So if you're currently a procrastinator, start getting in a good habit early so you don't have to adjust in uni. Okay, I'm going to talk about my high school extracurriculars, and then I'm going to give a few tips on what you should look for when you're joining different clubs and stuff. So at my school, I was in DECA and HOSA. So if you don't know, you probably know, but DECA is a business competition and HOSA is it's a health competition. It's like DECA, but for health. I wasn't really that serious about it. Like I wasn't really taking it seriously. Oh, sorry, I wasn't taking it, I was taking it seriously, but I wasn't like that competitive in it. So it was more of a for fun kind of thing. I was also the director of finance at my school's humanitarian club. I started math club and physics club with a few friends. Um, Basically in grade 9, there was already a math club, but it was run by a grade 12 student. So after he graduated, my friends and I, we went to apply to like start a new club, and that's what we did. And basically what we did at that club was just every week we would hold a meeting on maybe like a certain math topic. So like maybe this week would be like geometry or something. But also before math contests, like Euclid or something like that, we would hold a workshop for contest preparation. So we would like give tips on how to prepare for the contest. I was also part of Math and Science Senior Scholars. So what I did with there was, it's basically at lunchtime, you just go in and you help tutor people. That's basically it. And I think my biggest extracurricular was I was the head of the events request department at Volunteering Peel. You might have heard of it, but Volunteering Peel, it's a student-run organization in Peel that provides volunteering opportunities for students. So what my role was, I had to reach out and source different event organizers, and I had to basically like ask if they needed volunteers and set up the details of the events and stuff like that. As for hobbies, my two main hobbies throughout high school were violin and taekwondo. For violin, I was playing it more because I liked it. Like, again, it was more for fun. Like, I only took one RCM exam. But for taekwondo, I've been doing taekwondo for a really long time. I started when I was in like grade 3, I think. So yeah, I'm a black belt, and I've continued it throughout high school. And I've also participated in a lot of hackathons. So some of these include Hack North, Spark Hacks, Def Hacks, you might have heard of them, probably not. But the big one is Hack North. You might have heard of Hack North before. That's the hackathon run by Waterloo. So yeah. Now, what extracurriculars should you join? So I suggest that you guys start exploring your clubs early on in like grade 9. And this is because it gives you a lot of it gives you a lot of time to explore what you really like. And at my school, I know every year, at the beginning of every year, we had an event called Club Promo Lunch. So basically at lunch, all the clubs would like set up a booth and advertise the club. And that was a really good place to see what clubs were out there. Your school might have some form of that, maybe not, but if they do, I definitely recommend going to that. I think something really important with extracurriculars is you want to climb up the ladder. So I think by the time of grade 12 for your uni application, I think it's ideal to have at least one executive position because it shows commitment and leadership to that one club. And again, it's a quality over quantity thing. You'd much rather have an executive position in one club than to be maybe like a general member in 3 different clubs. Because it shows more commitment and dedication to that specific club. If you join a lot of small clubs, it might look like you're just joining like a bunch of random stuff just to make it look good on your app. But if you're the executive in a club, it actually shows that you spent a lot of time in it. And that's also another reason why you want to explore, start exploring clubs early on, because for most clubs, I think you have to be, in order to apply for an executive, you have to generally be in the club for like at least 1 year as like a general member. And then if you want to go even higher than that, maybe like be like a president or like vice president, you probably have to be an executive for at least 1 year. So basically, start in grade 9 and 10. And another thing is, I think it's a really good idea to start your own club. And the reason is because, again, it just shows a lot of leadership, right? It shows initiative. So if you guys have a good idea for a club, but there isn't really a club at your school like that, then I highly suggest like gathering a few of your friends who are also interested and just start your own club, you know? And I think a really important thing is that you should join something you're really interested in. So I know for my clubs, here, let me go back. For my clubs, a lot of my clubs were math related. So like math club, math senior scholars. I guess director of finance is kind of related to math. So I'm in the math program. I applied for the math program and a lot of my clubs are math related. But if you've noticed, most of my other clubs aren't even related to math. And universities, when they ask for your extracurriculars, they're not like actually looking to see if you're joining clubs that are relevant to your program. It's much more important just to be involved and commit your time to like a club than have it be relevant to a program. And another thing about this is it shows that you're well-rounded. So I actually think it might be even better. It might be better just to have at least one club that's not related to the program that you plan on going to. So for example, if you're going to computer science, don't have like all computer science clubs. Like it won't look bad, but you probably want at least one club that isn't computer science because it shows that you're interested in other things and you're able to apply your skills like in other areas. Also, join clubs outside school. Once again, this shows a lot of community involvement and participate in hackathons. If you're applying to CS at Waterloo or any CS program, it looks really good if you've been in hackathons. And hackathons are also a really good way to build up your GitHub resume and also just to gain a lot of experience and network with people. On the left here, or sorry, on the right here, I put down a few like Peel like community clubs that you guys might have heard of, so you can like look them up later and see what they're about. Okay, I'm gonna talk about math contests now. So most of the math contests that you'll write in high school are Waterloo math contests. I have a list of them here. I'll just briefly go over them. So there is a series of multiple choice contests. You have Pascal, Cayley, and Fermat. So that's from grade 9 to 11. And if you do well on these contests, you might get the opportunity to get invited to like a math camp thing. So for example, when I was in grade 10, I wrote Cayley, and I scored in like a certain percentile, like in Canada, or like out of everyone who took the contest. So they actually invited me to go to some math camp at the University of Ottawa. So it was like for 1 week during the summer. And is there a question? Sorry, I missed it. No.
No, I think they just forgot to turn off the microphone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, my bad. Yeah, guys, if anyone has any questions, we have a QA after, so you can ask your questions there. Okay. So those are the multiple choice exams or contests. And there's also a series of written contests. So that would be Fryer, Galois, and Hypatia. And that would be from grade 9 to 11 again. And by written, I mean you have to like show your solution. So for the first few questions, they might be short answers, so you might only have to provide your answer. But for the last few questions that are generally harder, you need to show your full work to get full solutions. Then there's the contest that everyone probably dreads of, is Euclid. So that one is a grade 12 contest. It's grade 12, like they say it's grade 12, but you can write it like in any year. Like if you're in grade 9, you can still write Euclid. And I highly recommend writing Euclid in every year, like write it in grade 9, 10, 11, and 12. Because as I'll explain more in depth later, Euclid is probably the most important contest when it comes to your Waterloo math acceptance. So if you start it early, it's just good preparation. Then there's another small series of Waterloo math contests. You have a CIMC, so the Canadian Intermediate Math Contest for grade 9 and 10, and then the senior version, which is for grade 11 and 12. These are written as well, and these are important as well, but I'll talk more about it when I talk about applications. Okay, if you didn't know, Waterloo also has non-math contests as well. They have a contest called the CCC. It's a coding competition. And if you do good on this contest, it leads into the CCO, which is like, it's like the Canadian Computing Olympiad. And then if you do good on that, that's what they use to consider you for the international one. I think it's called IOI, I'm not sure. And the last main Waterloo contest is the SIN contest, which is the Sir Isaac Newton contest. So that's the physics exam. If you plan on applying to any like physics related program at Waterloo, you should probably write it. It's not that important though. It's more of like a smaller contest. So yeah. Then here I've listed some of the more like popular non-Waterloo contests. So these are the ones I wrote. I might be missing some, but these are probably the ones that you'll see. So you have the COMC, the Canadian Open Math Competition, and this one's from grade 9 to 12, and it's a written exam. Every question you need to show full work. And if you do good on this contest, you'll get invited to write the CMO. So I think every year they invite around like 60 to 80 people to write the CMO. So I actually wrote it. It's the Canadian Math Olympiad. And then if you do good on this one, this is what Canada uses to like pick the team for the IMO, which is the International Math Olympiad. Yeah. And then the other main contests that you'll probably see are the American ones. So AMC 10 and AMC 12. So AMC 10 is for grade 9 and 10, and then AMC 12 is for grade 11 and 12. And then if you do good on these contests, they lead to AMY, and then they lead to USAMO. And then after that, then that's what the US uses to decide who to pick for their IMO team. If you guys have any questions about any of the contests in particular, just feel free to ask at the end. So I have some tips for preparing for a math contest because they're pretty important, and they're a big part of like the Waterloo culture. You know, if you're interested in Waterloo, you probably already automatically like writing math contests. So yeah. So big one is definitely practice past contests. If you go online and you search up CEMC past contests, it'll give you a list of all of the Waterloo contests. And it's really important to practice past contests because you gain a lot of exposure to different types of problems. So once you've done enough, once you've done a lot of contests, you'll start to see like the same types of questions and start to see patterns, and it'll become a lot easier to approach problem solving that way. And it's also a really good opportunity to practice time management. So if you're doing a practice contest, you should definitely time yourself. That way, you know how much time you spend on a certain difficulty level questions, and that way you're more comfortable with the actual test environment. And I also recommend that you always check your solutions. So even if you get it right, please check the solution anyways, because they might have a better way of doing it. And even if it's not, even if you have a better way, it's always good to look at it from another perspective, right? Another thing is memorize your formulas. I know like it sounds really bad, but yeah, at the end of the day, you just have to memorize them. But don't only memorize them, also learn their proofs. Because memorizing a formula is one thing, But if you actually understand like why it works, then it becomes a lot easier to apply, and it also becomes a lot harder for you to forget about it. If you don't know like what formulas to like study, a really good resource is AOPS, so Art of Problem Solving. So if you search up AOPS on Google, it'll take you to there. And they have a lot of like sections on different like topics in math and like what formulas are good for them. And then on the contest day, obviously get a lot of sleep. It's easier to write a contest if you're well rested. Manage your time, so don't spend too much time on like one question. And I also recommend that, especially for the written contests, like for Euclid and CIMC, CSMC, those ones. One strategy that I use is I skim through the hardest questions first. So the general like layout of a math contest is usually the last questions are the hardest ones. It's usually from easy to hard. You want to skim over the hardest questions first, and not because you want to know how to do them. So don't like think about how to do them, but you just kind of want to know what they are. If it pops into your head that you have an idea of how to do it, yeah, you can jot it down, but don't like spend like more than like 30 seconds on each problem. You just want to know what the questions are ahead, so that when you're working on the earlier problems, your brain like thinks about it in the background. And when you're doing an easier question, you might get an idea for one of the later questions. So it helps you save a lot of time. And also, a lot of you probably already know this, but for the written contest, incomplete proofs can still get part marks. So if you're writing a proof, but you don't know what the answer is, but you kind of know like how to get there, you just still write down your proof because you can get part marks for it. Okay, I'm gonna go over applying for Ontario universities. So for Ontario universities, you're gonna do your it's gonna be done through a website called OUAC, so the Ontario Universities Application Center. And the way it works in Ontario is they take your top 6 average from high school, including grade 12 English and any required courses. So for example, for Waterloo Math and CS, the required courses are advanced functions, calc and vectors, any grade 12U English, and then at least one other 4U course. And then they take your next 2 highest marks, and then they take those 6 and take the average. So this is why you should probably start planning what courses you want to take, what electives you want to take in grade 11 and 12. Like you don't want to go into, I know for Waterloo engineering, I'm not sure, but I think you need to take chemistry. So like you don't want to plan to go into engineering, but then not have taken chemistry, right? You want to plan ahead. So most universities offer early admissions, and that happens in around March. And that's generally before your grade 12 second semester midterm grades come out. So if a university is considering you for early admission, since they'll only have 4 of your grade 12 marks from your first semester, they'll take a look at your grade 11 marks as well. That's why grade 11 marks matter as well. If you have bad grade 11 marks, it's not that big of a deal. You just won't get early admission, but you should definitely try to start raising up your marks in grade 11. And yeah, you should probably visit the websites of your universities to figure out what required courses you need to take. Some universities require only your grades, and some require supplementary applications. So I applied to a lot of math programs. I applied to math at Waterloo, U of T, McMaster, Ottawa, Queens, Western. I also applied to CS at U of T and UTM. And out of all of the programs I applied to, the only one that needed a supplementary application was Waterloo Math and CS. I'm not sure if it's the same this year, but it should be pretty similar. So for the ones that don't require an application, all you have to do is just indicate that you want to apply there, and then OUAC will automatically send your grades. So for Waterloo, the supplementary application is called the AIF. I'll talk more in depth about that later. And some programs at Waterloo require video interviews. So I think certain engineering programs actually require a video interview. And I think other unis do this as well. Then another part of OUAC is you have to do rankings. So after a certain deadline, after you applied for all your universities, OUAC will require you to rank your programs in like preference. So like, like your top choice, second choice, those things. Some universities in Ontario take it into consideration when considering your acceptance, and others don't. So I know Waterloo doesn't take into consideration how you rank them, but U of T, I think for some programs at U of T, they'll look at how you rank them, and then they'll take that into account when deciding to give you an offer or not. But this Waterloo thing, so this was true in my year. It might not be true anymore. So I recommend you guys like email them or call them to just make sure that they don't care about your ranking. And yeah, you want to figure out early if your program has any supplementary applications, because you don't want to apply to a bunch of programs and then you find out that every program requires like a really, really long essay. And then you're just doomed, right? So you want to figure it out early and so you can plan out. Okay, next I'll talk about Waterloo Math versus the CS program and how it compares to other universities. So an interesting fact about Waterloo is Waterloo has its own math faculty. And I think it's the only university that has math faculty in Canada. And the fact that it has its own math faculty means it's more flexible and you have more options. So what I mean by this is at Waterloo, if you enter the math program, the first year is general, so you'll take general courses. And then in the second year, that's when you declare your major. And I think at Waterloo, according to the website, there's 44 total majors. And for example, some of them include actuary, combinatorics and optimization, data science, and teaching. So there's a lot of options for what you can do with math at Waterloo. Another thing in Waterloo is, I'm not sure if other universities offer this, but at Waterloo, you have the option to take advanced math or CS courses in your first year, at least. I'm not sure about second year. So I took the advanced courses in my first year, and they're basically just like the things that you learn compared to the normal level course are basically the same, but they just go more in depth into things. So if you want a challenge, you can take the advanced math courses, but not anyone can take them. You have to you don't have to apply for it, but you have to have a certain score on Euclid to be able to take the advanced math courses. And for the advanced CS ones, you have to have a certain score on the CCC to take them. And I think the main appeal with Waterloo is the co-op program. So Waterloo has a really, really good co-op program. I think that's why most people want to come here. Co-op is really good for exploring your career options and for gaining experience in the field and just networking with people. Okay, yeah. So as for math versus CS at Waterloo, the first year courses are like exactly the same. Like there's like 0% difference. They're exactly the same. You have to take the exact same courses. Your electives, you have the same choices for electives, and the co-op is pretty similar too. In first year math and CS students, most of the co-ops will be like coding related, like jobs. And so I actually got accepted into both math and CS. And that's kind of weird because you're probably wondering why did I pick math over CS. Generally, people would choose CS over math, but the reason is because I'm not that interested in CS. Like I did a lot of hackathons in high school, so that's like I like it, but I'm a lot more interested in math. And I wanted to go into the math program because there's it's more flexible. You have a lot more options, you know. But if you don't know, if you've received offers to both and you don't know which one to choose, I recommend picking CS because it's really easy to transfer from CS into math, but it's pretty hard to transfer from math into CS because most people want to transfer from math into CS. So the demand in like that direction is a lot higher. And if you're not in grade 12, if you're in grade 11, I recommend just applying to both of them because at Waterloo, for math and CS, they share the same AIF. So you don't have to fill out 2 supplementary applications. You only have to do one of them. Yeah. And as for some more specific details, I already mentioned this. These are the courses you need to take. So according to Waterloo on the website, for math, they like the general like average range is high 80s, and for CS, it's low to mid 90s. But you should probably be trying to aim like over these. Like you don't want to like be like at the cutoff, you know. You definitely want to push yourself, and it's better to be safe, you know. Historically, the acceptance rate for CS has been around 7%. I'm not sure what it will be like this year or in future years, but you can definitely do a bit of research and find it out. I'm not sure what it is for now, so sorry, but I'll look after, and if I find it, I'll send it in the WeChat or something. Okay, now I'll talk about the AIF. So this is the supplementary application for Waterloo's programs. So it is required for math and CS. I think it's required for most programs actually. It's definitely required for engineering. And the way the AIF plays a role in your admission is the way they'll score you is they'll take your top 6 average, so the one we talked about earlier. They'll add your AIF score, which is out of 5 points, so from 0 to 5. Then they'll add an adjustment factor. What the adjustment factor is every university, I think most universities, I know Waterloo has one, they'll have like a deduction depending on the high school you went to. So maybe for John Fraser, it might be like around like 10% or something. So we'll take 10% off. Maybe for another school, it'll be like 15. And the reason why they do this is they just want to consider the fact that maybe a school is like generally harder than another school. Like maybe they just give lower grades in general, or maybe another school just gives high grades. This way it makes it more fair for everyone. And then if your program has a video interview, then they'll add your score on for that. And then that'll give you your admissions score. So that's what they use to like rank everyone and then consider who to pick for the program. So yeah, I'm not sure if that's a final deciding factor, but like that should be most of it. Maybe there's other considerations, but I'm not sure. You'll have to ask. I think the best way to explain the AIF is I'll just literally give the format I had for my year. So these are the questions I had when I applied. So the first question was, please tell us about yourself, your educational goals, and your interest in the program, and why you chose Waterloo. And there's a 900 character limit. So that's actually really, that's not a lot of words, okay? That's really short. That's like probably 1 paragraph if I remember. And I'll talk about it more in the next slide. But yeah. Then you'll have a table for extracurricular activities. It'll have like it'll have like title, end date, start date, hours per week, like weeks per year, that kind of stuff. Then under that, there's provide any additional information for the above table section. Then in the next part, you have a table for your employment background. Then you have a table for any special achievements or awards. Then at the end, there's an optional question where they're like, oh, like if you have anything else to tell us, you can do it here. Then in the final section is the contest section. So for the AIF for math and CS, they specifically ask you for your Euclid, CCC, and CSMC scores. They're not mandatory. Like you don't have to do them for like in order to be considered, but like they're specifically asking for them, so you probably should do them. If you're applying to math, the CCC might not matter that much, but definitely have a Euclid score and a CSMT score. And for Euclid, remember how I mentioned how you could do it from grade 9 to 12? When you're applying on your AIF, they only care about the grade 12 Euclid score. So even if you did really well in grade 9, 10, and 11, if you did bad in grade 12, then it kind of sucks. Okay, you have to just make sure you do good in grade 12. Then after that, there's a section for you to list other contests. So there you could list the other Waterloo contests like the Pascal, and you can list any like of the non-Waterloo contests that you did. And it's not exclusive to math contests. So I actually listed some like physics contests and some like coding like team like competitions. Yeah. So here's some tips for the AIF. For the written responses, so there's two, the first one and the optional one. The character limit is really, really low. Like you'll be surprised. You'll probably be unable to fit in everything. So you want to be really concise and cut out any like unnecessary fluff that isn't really like helping, you know? And one advice for cutting down is it's better to remove one full sentence than to cut down on a lot of multiple sentences. If you do like a lot of big cut downs like everywhere, your response will be like a lot of really short sentences and it'll become really awkward to read. So it's better just to find one sentence that isn't as meaningful and just remove it fully. As always, make your responses unique and interesting to read. I can't really tell you guys how to do that, but you know, just figure out your own style and don't use any cliches. Remember that the admissions team, they're looking at like tens of thousands of applications every year, so you want to make yourself stand out. And also one tip is don't praise Waterloo. I know a lot of people when they're writing applications like this, they'll be like, oh, Waterloo has like such a good program, you know, they're so prestigious, this is why I want to go there. It's not that necessary. Like they already know that they're a really good school. You want to use your 900 characters on talking about yourself, okay? Focus on yourself, not the school. For the extracurriculars table, this is your time to like show off everything, like flex everything. Even if you don't think it matters, just put it on. Like, okay, maybe if it's not like 1 hour, but if it's like a decent amount of time, definitely include it. They want to see as much involvement as possible. Then for the additional information section under the extracurriculars table, here you can give like a short description of your role for the more significant activities, and you can include any like relevant links. Like for example, I linked my GitHub, and I included a link of a presentation that I did for Math Club. And oh, okay, you really want to fill out the optional question section. It's common sense, right? Like I know it says it's optional, but you should fill it out because it shows that you actually want to go into the program, right? And this is a really good place to include anything important that you couldn't fit in the first question. Don't make it seem like a continuation, but if you have any like key points that you couldn't fit in, here's a really good place to put it. And just for a general tip, start early and revise a lot. If I remember, I think you have maybe like a few months, maybe a month, I don't know. Okay, honestly, I forgot, but you have a decent amount of time to like do it, right? You want to start really early, you want to plan early on, and you want to review it a lot. You want to review it with peers. If you have a really close teacher that you trust, you can give it to them. They'll look over it. Compared to a lot of other programs like Mac Health Sci and like Western like Ivy for Business, their applications are like super long. The Waterloo applications are really, really short compared to other applications. It's only 900 characters and only 2 responses, so you really don't have an excuse for it to not be amazing. You want to make them perfect. Here on the right, I have a diagram that shows like the AIF score distribution. I think this is for like the most recent, like 2018 or something. It's probably not like completely accurate, but it has a general shape. As you can see, most people score like in the 2 to 3 area, and only a really small percentage of people score at 5. And you definitely want to be in that 5 zone. You want to be in that 4 to 5 zone, because remember, they add that AIF score onto your average, and it could be the difference between you and thousands of other people. And this is also a really good place if your marks aren't quite up there. Maybe you had like an unlucky year, maybe you had bad teachers, and your average is really low, or not really low, but like lower than you expected. The AIF is a really good chance to boost those numbers up. Okay, lastly, I'll talk about Waterloo scholarships to wrap it up. I'm not going to talk too much about general scholarships because you can find those online. There's like websites for that. For Waterloo, they automatically consider you for entrance scholarships depending on your grades. So, and that would be different from program to program. So for the math program, you actually need to write Euclid or CSMC to be considered for the scholarship. I think they're around like $3,000, $4,000, something like that. So it's basically like if you have an average of at least this much, you get this amount of money. Then if you have a higher average, you might get a little bit more. And there are also other faculty specific scholarships that might require an application. So for the math faculty, there's two types of scholarships. They have the national and the global scholarships. So the national one is for Canadian citizens or permanent residents, and the global scholarship is for international students. So the one I received was the Mathematics National Scholarship. And for this one, I just have a bit of information down here. You're eligible if you're in any math program other than software engineering or CFM. And up to 15 are available, like out of everyone that applies. And they range from $12,000 to $25,000. And they're spread over 8 terms. So like, yeah, that's a lot of money, right? So you should definitely apply. To maintain a scholarship, so I think you automatically get it for your first 2 terms, but past that, you have to keep at least an 80% average, and you have to take at least 5 courses each term to get like all the other payments. So yeah, if you do get the scholarship, make sure you don't slack, make sure your grades are high, or you're throwing a lot of money away. And the application is usually available around November. That's when it was available in my year, and I think it's like that like every year. And it's due around February in the grade 12 year. So yeah, if you're applying to Waterloo, fill it out. Like even if you don't get into Waterloo program, like, you know, you might as well take the chances. Just fill it out. For the application, there's a few long answer questions. Kind of like the AIF, there's an extracurricular table. Then they ask about your contest scores, your grades, and you also need 2 reference letters from like teachers. And yeah, I definitely recommend applying to this. It's a really good opportunity, you know. Like this is the amount of money you could make working at like a job for like months, you know. It's really good to get, you know. Yeah. And that's basically it for my part. If you guys have any questions, in particular, like after our Q&A session, so we're gonna have a Q&A session where you can ask questions. But after that, if you still have more specific questions or maybe something you're more comfortable with sharing like privately, you can email us at these emails. And yeah.
All right. Thank you for both Ethan and Sherry. So let's move on to the Q&A. There's one question in the chat. By the way, if you wanna, type your questions, just feel free to type them in the chat, or you can just turn on your microphone and talk, ask any questions that you may have, right? 我用中文说一下哈，就是如果大家有问题哈，你可以用键盘敲在我们的这个对话窗里哈。或者你就直接把话筒打开，直接问也可以哈。如果大家有这个任何问题哈，刚才他们2位提到的哈，用中文问，用英文问都可以哈。Okay, so the question here in the chat box: What if I repeat the grade 12 course and get a higher mark? Will universities from on that, will the improved mark help? Ethan, Sherry, who wants to take on this
one? I can add a little bit to that. So first of all, I think if you get a higher mark, they'll take that one in your average. I don't think universities frown on that, but I think for some applications, for some universities, I think there's like a section where they ask if you've repeated any courses, and they'll ask for like an explanation to like why you repeated it. But if you get like a higher mark, like I don't think they'll frown on that. If anything, it shows more like dedication and stuff. But this is probably different depending on the university. So I recommend just emailing them and like calling them, asking directly.
Yeah, to build on that, I think for the States, I don't exactly remember if there was a section where you can like write if you repeated a course or not. But if there is, then there's a additional information section where you can kind of explain, like, for example, if you didn't do as well in a certain year or in a certain class, like you can explain why. Because like if you're filled with curriculars or other things that were happening, like I'm sure they take that into account. And yeah, also going with echoing Ethan, I think it's different for every school. There are some schools who don't recognize it as much, but there's some schools that do. It's really dependent.
Okay, the next one, does student need math extracurricular? If yes, what are they? And when do you think would be the best time to start?
So if you're interested in applying to math program, it's really not that important that you have math specific extracurriculars. Universities don't they don't look for if you have an extracurricular like relevant to the program. They care more about like if you're just committed and dedicated to at least some club. And when is a good time to start? You want to start as early as possible. So if you're in grade 9, start now.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think I did any math extracurriculars throughout high school. Like most of my experience is like from contests or like catalyst conferences or things like that. But for co-curriculars in general, start early. For my school, it was mandatory for us to do extracurriculars, like 3 different extracurriculars throughout a year. So in like 4 years, we did like 12 in total. And it like I would really recommend joining clubs or curriculars because they build up so much of like what we were talking about earlier, like well-roundedness. So recommend starting as soon as you can.
Okay, there's another one. I think this one's for Ethan. There are different programs in Waterloo Math faculty. Please talk about those programs and discuss how to select courses in the first year in order to get into those programs.
How to just select courses in the first year? So I'm assuming you're asking about like the major that you're going to declare. So yeah, so in the first year, everything is general. In first year, you're actually not allowed to, you don't really have a choice to what math courses you take. Yeah, for CS and math students in the first year, you have like a pre-packaged package of courses, and you just have to take those courses. Obviously, you can take the lower level one or the advanced one, but the courses are going to be the same like every year, I think. If you're so for specific programs, they have specific requirements for graduation. So if you want to look at that, I think on their website they have like a list of all the undergrad majors and what courses are required to graduate. And those courses would be taken like from second year throughout like your last year. It wouldn't be in first year though. In first year, you don't have to worry about it. Everything's like given to you.
Okay, there's a question from Oliver. What kind of careers can math program students go into?
Well, this is a great question. I guess I can start first. Honestly, you have a lot of options. I think both Ethan and I are interning right now, and we're not doing something that's necessarily like just math based. I think we're both kind of programming. So that's a field you can go into. And honestly, like you can go into quant research, like anything related to data science, and even something that I'm considering is teaching. You can go into teaching mathematics. So yeah, there's a lot that you can do it because you can take a lot of courses that are not necessarily connected with your major.
Yeah, Sherry basically mentioned all of them. Yeah. So I guess the general like pathways are more of like a applied math focused branch. Then there's like the CS and like IT kind of branch, and then there's like the finance branch. And yeah, and there's a lot of options. So if you do end up going to Waterloo, the co-op program is really good for exploring your options, and you dive like directly into the workforce, and you just get to experiment with your options.
Okay, there's a problem. There's a question from Li Ji. I think this is kind of related to the last question. Is it possible for math students to do computer related co-op job?
Yeah, it's actually a really good question. For your first year, I'm pretty sure all of the co-op jobs are gonna be computer science related, because first year math courses aren't like specific enough to give you like the knowledge to like work an actual like math heavy job. So all of the jobs in first year for co-op, even if you're in the math program, are going to be CS related. So like I'm working as a full stack developer. Then I think maybe in second or third year, as you do more co-op turns, then you can get into more like mathy jobs. But if you really like computer science, I'm sure like a lot of the options are still computer science.
OK，我用中文问一个问题啊，因为我相信我们很多家长其实还是中文可能会更亲切一些哈。那个 Sherry 可以讲中文啊，这其实是关于这个 liberal arts 啊，就我们叫文理学院哈。那大家因为通常来讲是对这种综合性大学比较熟悉了哈。加拿大的大学基本上都是这种综合性大学，就 university。那你在文理学院哈，卫斯理当然是这个最好的文理学院之一了。那你的经验是怎么样？就是你怎么去比较文理学院和这个综合性大学？
我觉得就是文理学院，给我很多机会学，就是我一般不会想学的一些，会想学 like 就是我不会想到会学的一些courses，就是比如我已经学了 sociology，我不是很确定中文是什么，但是我们就是 like 就是
社会学。
谢谢，就是我们那个课就了解 like criminal justice system，就是关于。Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
刑法，
谢谢。然后我觉得那个课就是带给我很多 like different perspectives。然后我现在也在学个音乐课，因为我们就是你在 liberal arts 文理学院的时候，你需要fulfill 一些 distribution requirement，就是你要学很多like 课，但是不是只是关于你的 major。然后我也认识很多人，他们的 major 不只是 like focus on one field，就是不只是文科或者理科。我认识很多人，就是有一个 major 是文科的，但是另外一个是理科的。然后我觉得很厉害，因为我觉得一般都不会见到这些人，很少感觉。然后还有就是很小的一个班，我觉得是一个非常大的 benefit，因为你可以，我跟我的 professor 就会like we talk a lot，因为很小的班就是你的 professor 很愿意来跟你 like you know make conversation， 了解你什么的。然后他们也会给你更多的 research opportunity。如果他们有什么 project，他就会邀请你来跟他一起做这个 project，等等的。Yeah， 然后 I think that's like 文理学跟一个更大的 like 学校。
我有一个观点哈，这个 Sherry 你看对不对哈？因为我知道在教育界啊，实际上有两个这个观点啊，就是两个 different camps， 就两个阵营啊。一个阵营呢，他们认为本科教育是career training 啊，比如说你是 computer science， 那你出来之后将来可能就是将来要做一个IT 的 developer 啊。如果你是 chemical engineer， 那你将来出来就是一个化学工程师哈。所以大学的4年实际上就是培养一个你的专业的技能，专业的这种将来的一个工作领域哈。这是一个 camp。那另外一个 camp 认为他们说不对，他们说其实大学的4年不是真正的不是应该专注于培养你的将来的一个专业技能，而是应该培养你的怎么样去做一个人。如果这是一个 这样的话，其实文理学院是第二种 liberal arts， 我认为是第二种啊。这就是为什么你刚才说，其实你会学到很多跟你的专业不是很相关的，比如说音乐啊、sociology 啊这些哈，但是他认为如果这个人培养的很成功的话，那将来可以做任何专业，这个是liberal arts 的一个他们的一个理念了，你同意吗？
我挺同意的。
嗯
我觉得就是还是有很多人就是会去一些 industry job，就是 like go into IT right after。但是我觉
，finance
得，
啊，
但是我觉得文理学是很想培养你这个人，就是 like 你的 character、你的 judgment，他们更 focus on this rather than just like getting you into a career immediately.
Yeah,
Yeah.
your communication skills, your personality,
Yeah.
you know, the high EQ stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. I would definitely agree with.
All right, so we got another question from Jack. This is for Ethan for sure. In Waterloo, Mass, does first year mark limit your ability to select a major in the second year?
Yes. Yeah. When you're applying, when you're choosing your second year major, they look at your first year marks, and there's like certain like requirements for depending on the major. If you search up like UWarlu like math majors, there's a website that'll tell you the specific requirements. Like it'll tell you the average for these courses that you have to have a minimum of to be able to go into that. And for some of the majors, like for example, for mathematical finance, you also have to take. They require you to take the advanced calculus courses. So that might be the only one, but definitely look at the requirements for each major. Also, I remember the last question about the different math programs. I'm gonna do a little edit on that. So even though you can't choose your math or CS courses in your first year, from both terms, some of the majors in your second year, they recommend you to take certain electives. So for example, for mathematical finance, they recommend you to take like AFM, like the accounting courses or the econ courses. Yeah, I'm not sure if they're mandatory, but they just recommend it. But all the information is available online, so I recommend you guys search it up.
Great. Do we have any other questions? 我们还有没有问题？我们可以，我们大概还有5分钟左右的时间啊，我们可以把话筒打开，或者直接说你的问题也可以哈，或者敲在我们的对话窗里面都可以。可以是关于数学专业，或者关于大学申请，或者是关于奖学金，包括美国大学跟加拿大大学的这个申请的区别等等哈，
I think I see a question in the chat that says like, are there other extracurricular programs for students that aren't just math classes, lessons, or contests? And very valid question. I think we mentioned a lot about just math contests, conferences, etc. And definitely, I think it is dependent on your high school, I want to say. And if like for your high school, they definitely offer a lot more curriculars or clubs that aren't math related. Like for me, I did golfing my first year at school. I
Good.
did yeah, it was definitely a time. And also I did a lot of service extracurriculars where you go out to like a program and you volunteer there, you work with elders, work with children, or just like helping around in a community. So there are those kind of curriculars that I do recommend. and sports. Also, if you do already do sports at school, that's enough. But if you're like me and you don't, there are some extracurriculars that are also sports related, at least from my high school experience. But I do recommend doing a lot of, or if you can, like doing community service like outside of your school as well. Very important.
Yeah,
Great.
I'll just talk about some specific ones. Like I'll just literally give examples. If you're interested in business, DEC is really good. Host is good if you're interested in health. If you like debate, like Model UN is good. In general, I think like your school's like student activity council, that's pretty good extracurricular. And yeah, there's a lot. Uh, if you're not sure what extracurriculars are available at your school, I recommend like every school probably has their own like student like activity council. I'm not sure that's what we call it at our school. But just find someone who's like an executive in there and like DM them. Be like, yo, like what clubs are there? And they'll probably be helpful.
All right. So question from Gavin. Yeah. If you don't want to apply US schools, is AMC contest still useful?
Is it unuseful? Okay, I guess yeah, it's like unuseful. Like the University of Waterloo, or I guess any Ontario university, they don't like really care about your ANC contest score. If you get a 0, they probably wouldn't even care. But uh, it doesn't mean you shouldn't like try them out and like try on them. You know, if you get a good score and then you make it to Amy, it definitely helps your application. If you get into USAMO, that looks really good. So if doing math contests is something you're interested in, just still try them. But like if you get a low score, like don't worry about it. They don't care.
Okay. Anything to add, Sherry, on this one?
I mean, I did do AMCs in high school, and honestly, they were pretty fun to do. And so I would recommend taking AMC anyway if you have the time. And I'm not sure for my Waterloo application, I don't exactly remember if I put AMC on there or not. But it is always just like it's good practice, you know, and like Ethan said, if you do make it higher, it looks great on your application.
Oh wait, I have some insight. Um, so actually, something I noticed when I was doing the contest is the American contests have, I'm not sure how to explain it, but they have like different like types of questions. Like if you did a lot of AMC practice and a lot of Canadian contests, you'll notice that their questions their their style is different. So if I think it's a really good idea to do them anyways because it's just really good for preparing for the more important contests like Euclid and stuff. And I think generally the American contests are slightly harder in my opinion than the Canadian contests at the same level. So they're really good practice.
Yep. We got another one from Oliver. What's the best way to find opportunities for things like volunteering?
I can start with this one. Great question. For my volunteering, it was a camp that I actually attended myself when I was younger. So that was like a lot easier to find. But like try to find local, if you're interested in working with children specifically, like you can go to like local church or summer camps in general and like try to see if you can get involved in that. And I think also if you like attend conferences, they usually like need students that are older to help like I guess guide the younger students. So, like you can also sign up for those as well. And overall, just like I think your school will also provide a bunch of opportunities for you to find. And oh, also like senior homes, definitely that's also a really great experience too. Just some specific ones.
Yeah, I'll add on to that. So personally, I got most of my I already mentioned this, but I was an executive at Volunteer NPL, and we help find events from event organizers, and on our website we like have like a sign up page, and then students can sign up, and then we we basically liaise between people who want to volunteer and the event organizers. And I got most of my hours from just leading those events. Like I was an executive, so I had to like supervise volunteers and stuff. So actually, I don't think they're active right now, but if you go on this website, volunteeringpl.org, maybe after COVID, they'll come out with events. And yeah, another thing I did was I volunteered at like my school. So at my school, we had events sometimes like the Terry Fox Run or like our arts night. And usually for those events, they'll want volunteers. So yeah. Oh, and also you can contact your middle school teachers. You can go back to middle school and volunteer, which is like pretty fun because you see everyone again.
Sorry, can I add something really quick?
Of course.
So something to keep in mind is if you do a volunteer, I really recommend staying with it for a long time. Like I think both like Ethan and I did volunteers that we had for like basically during our entire high school experience. And that definitely helps a lot. I think it like shows your commitment. So I definitely recommend doing it for a longer time if you can.
Yeah, another thing I wanna add, just don't do the volunteers because you need to do the volunteers. You see what I mean? Do it because you're interested and you like it, right? And also the longer term commitment Sherry mentioned. I think the other thing um, Ethan mentioned during his presentation is quality is always more important than quantity, right? People usually look at how many hours have you done your volunteering, right? 300 hours, even 500 hours, right? To me, that is not as important as you find something that you're really interested and passionate about. All right, we got, okay, I think we got time to do one more question. This is from James. It seems that Waterloo Math computer science student either study or work at co-op. There's no time to explore other university life experiences. Is it true? And how do you deal with it?
Yeah, I think there's like a meme about how at Waterloo like we don't have like a student life. Okay, so I definitely feel that in university, or more specifically at Waterloo, there's definitely a lot more work than high school. Like I've definitely spent a lot more time on homework and stuff, but I'm not doing homework like all day, you know. If you're able to manage your time well, then you'll find that you'll have a lot more free time than you expected. And I think a really good tip for this is don't like don't waste time. I know that's really vague, but like what I mean is like if you're doing an assignment or something, don't like go on your phone like every 5 minutes to like go on Instagram. Like if you want to go on Instagram, like do it after you're done. Like schedule it out. You don't want to like have short short breaks every like minute. It's a lot more efficient to just get your work done and then relax for an even longer like continuous period of time. That way you can just do a lot more things. You know, you can like walk around campus, go to the gym, hang out with people. So yeah.
Great. I think our time is almost, yeah, I think our time is up. So yeah, thank you for once again, Sherry and Ethan for, all your efforts, your experiences and advices. And I also want to thank, everyone who's, with us tonight. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. Sherry, Ethan, their emails are on the screen, or you can reach out to us, right? Email, WeChat, phone number. You can find all our contact info on linkedkey.com. And yeah, any questions, feel free to reach out. All right. So we're gonna wrap it up here. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Wait, should we leave too?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's fine.
Okay. All right.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, guys.